There is a silent trap waiting for you in the first 60 seconds of your day. It's not a physical cage, but it's just as restrictive. It's that heavy, suffocating weight that hits your chest the moment the alarm goes off, the dread of the emails you haven't answered, the chores you've ignored, and the general noise of a world that demands your attention before you've even had a sip of water. Most people lose the war of the day before they even get out of bed. They surrender their focus to a glowing screen, allowing the chaos of the internet to dictate their mood, their energy, and their worth. You wake up as a reactor, not a creator. You are essentially handing the remote control of your brain to strangers on the internet, and then you wonder why you feel exhausted, unmotivated, and behind by noon. This isn't just a bad habit, it is a slow erosion of your sovereignty. Welcome to the Thinking Pillow. Today, we will navigate through the mastery of your morning and the architecture of the first 10 minutes using the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just a philosopher. He was the most powerful man on earth, leading an empire in the middle of plagues, wars, and betrayal. He didn't have the luxury of sleeping in or feeling uninspired. He understood that the way you handle the transition from the warmth of the blankets to the cold reality of duty defines the trajectory of your entire life. If you cannot master the first 10 minutes, you have no hope of mastering the next 10 hours. We have become a society that worships comfort, yet we are more miserable than ever. We seek ease in the morning, only to find anxiety in the afternoon. To break this cycle, we must look at the morning not as a chore to be endured, but as a ritual of fortification. The battle isn't against the world. It's against that small, whispering voice in your head that tells you 5 more minutes of sleep will change everything. It won't. In fact, those 5 minutes might be the very thing holding you back from the life you were meant to lead. The problem is that we've forgotten how to talk to ourselves when the sun comes up. The weight of the modern morning is amplified by what scientists call decision fatigue. From the second you wake up, you are forced to make choices. Should I check my phone? What should I wear? What's the first task? By the time you actually start working, your mental battery is already at 50%. Marcus Aurelius faced a similar struggle, but his notifications were messengers bringing news of crumbling borders and dying soldiers. He knew that the mind is like a vessel. If you fill it with junk early on, there is no room for the nectar of deep work later. Our current morning routines are designed for distraction, not depth. We are training our brains to be hyperreactive, jumping from one shiny object to another, which destroys our ability to sustain focus on the things that actually matter. Think about the physical sensation of your current morning. The frantic scrolling, the rushed coffee, the feeling of being hunted by your to-do list. This is a state of survival, not leadership. You are operating from the amygdala, the lizard brain, which is why everything feels like an emergency. When you start your day in a state of panic, you remain in a state of panic. You might get things done, but you are doing them with a fragmented spirit. We've lost the art of the sacred threshold, that brief window of time where the world is quiet and your soul is still malleable. If you don't learn to guard this threshold, you are essentially leaving the front door of your mind wide open for every thief and beggar to walk in. The question isn't whether you have enough time. The question is whether you have enough respect for your own potential to claim that time back. To change the day, we have to change our relationship with the very act of waking up. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote in his private journals, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work,' as a human being." This sounds harsh to our modern ears, which are used to self-care platitudes and gentle mornings. But Marcus wasn't being a tyrant. He was being a realist. He understood that our nature is not to remain stationary and comfortable, but to move, to act, and to contribute. The Stoic command is the realization that your feelings about the morning are irrelevant to your duty to the day. When you wait to feel motivated to get up, you are making yourself a slave to your emotions. Emotions are like the weather, unpredictable and often unreliable. Discipline, however, is the climate. From the Aurelian perspective, the bed is a symbol of the lower self, the part of you that seeks pleasure and avoids pain at all costs. Every second you spend negotiating with yourself in the morning is a victory for the version of you that wants to stay small. The emperor's solution was simple: don't negotiate. When the time comes to rise, you rise. You don't do it because you want to. You do it because you are a human being, and that is what human beings do. This shift in perspective removes the emotional friction from the morning. You stop asking, "How do I feel?" and start asking, "What is required of me?" This isn't about being a robot. It's about being a master. When you command your body to move despite its protest, you are strengthening the ruling faculty of your mind. You are proving that the soul is higher than the flesh. If you can win this small, invisible war at 6 a.m., the rest of the day's battles will seem trivial by comparison. This command isn't just about physical movement. It's about mental orientation. Marcus Aurelius practiced a technique we now call premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Before he even left his room, he would remind himself that the people he would meet that day would be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. This sounds pessimistic until you realize its power. By expecting the chaos of the world, he became immune to it. Most of our morning frustration comes from unmet expectations. We expect the day to be smooth, and when it isn't, we lose our temper. Marcus masterfully flipped this. He used the first 10 minutes to armor his mind. He accepted the flaws of the world so that they couldn't penetrate his inner peace. How often do you start your day hoping for the best, only to be derailed by the first traffic jam or a passive-aggressive email? You are fragile because you are unprepared. The Stoic perspective teaches us that the first 10 minutes are for loading the shield. It is the time to visualize the obstacles and decide, in advance, how you will respond. You don't control the weather, the traffic, or your boss's mood, but you have absolute authority over your own reaction. When you master your morning in this way, you aren't just getting ready for work, you are getting ready for life. You are moving from a state of fragility to a state of anti-fragility. The morning becomes your training ground. Every cold floor on your feet and every urge to check your phone is a weight you are lifting to make your will stronger. But to truly implement this, we have to move beyond theory and look at the deep rituals that turn a Roman emperor into a legend. The first deep ritual is the internal dialogue. Most of us wake up with a default internal monologue that is anxious and scattered. In the monk mode and Stoic protocols, we replace this with directed thought. For the first 3 minutes after waking, you must engage in a deliberate conversation with your higher self. Instead of thinking about what you have to do, you think about who you are going to be. Are you going to be the man who is rattled by criticism? Are you going to be the woman who procrastinates on her dreams? Marcus Aurelius used his mornings to remind himself of his principles: justice, temperance, fortitude, and wisdom. He wasn't reciting a list. He was setting the frequency for his soul. If you don't intentionally set your frequency, the world will set it for you, and usually the world's frequency is one of fear and consumption. This ritual requires silence. You cannot have a directed thought session while listening to a podcast or scrolling through X. This is the cave of the mind. For these 3 minutes, you are the only person in existence. You are setting the ruling faculty, the hegemonicon, in its proper place. You are telling your brain, "I am the one who decides where we look today." This small act of cognitive sovereignty is more powerful than any productivity hack ever invented. It builds a buffer of peace that stays with you long after you've left the house. People will wonder why you aren't stressed when the fog hits. It's because you've already been in the clear air of your own mind before the sun was even fully up. This is how you reclaim the sacred threshold. But setting the mind is only half the battle. We must also address the biological igniter that turns these thoughts into unstoppable momentum. The second deep ritual is the cold reset. We live in a world of climate control, soft fabrics, and heated seats. We have successfully removed almost all physical friction from our lives, but in doing so, we have made our spirits fragile. Marcus Aurelius believed that the body must be the disciplined servant of the mind. To master your morning, you must introduce a voluntary hardship. This isn't about punishment, it's about biological priming. A blast of cold water, a few minutes in the morning air, or even just sitting on the floor instead of a soft chair sends a clear signal to your nervous system. The time for comfort is over, the time for action has begun. This physical shock triggers a surge of norepinephrine, instantly clearing the sleep inertia that keeps you in a mental fog for hours. Most people use caffeine to borrow energy from their future self, The Stoic uses the body to generate energy in the present. When you face the cold or the discomfort of movement without hesitation, you are practicing the no-design strike. You are teaching your brain that the gap between a thought and an action should be zero. If you spend 10 minutes negotiating with a shower handle, you will spend 10 hours negotiating with your work. By winning this physical confrontation, you enter the world with a biological confidence that cannot be faked. You aren't just awake, you are alert. The third ritual is the external order. Marcus Aurelius observed that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, but your thoughts are often dyed with the color of your environment. If you wake up in a room full of clutter, your mind will reflect that clutter. The final minutes of your 10-minute mastery must be dedicated to ordering the realm. This means making your bed, clearing your desk, or simply ensuring your physical space reflects the discipline of your internal space. It is a small act of imperial governance. If you cannot maintain order in your immediate surroundings, you have no right to expect order in your career or your relationships. This isn't about being a perfectionist. It's about intentionality. When you deliberately place an object or tidy a space, you are asserting your will over the material world. You are moving from the dream state into the governing state. Most people leave their homes in a state of disarray, which means they carry a mental debt with them all day. They have unfinished business waiting for them at home, which siphons off their focus. By closing the loops of your physical environment in the first 10 minutes, you free up cognitive bandwidth for the big work. You are creating a vacuum of order that the rest of your day will naturally rush to fill. You are no longer a victim of your surroundings. You are the architect of them. Now, we move from philosophy to the battle map. To master your morning, you need a protocol that is so simple it becomes impossible to fail. We call this the 3-3-4 protocol. Asterisk 3 minutes of directed thought. Do not leave your bed until you have defined the frequency of your soul. Who are you today? What virtue will you lead with? 3 minutes of biological ignition. Shock your system. Cold water, breath work, or movement. Flush the fog out of your veins and tell your nervous system that the commander is awake. 4 minutes of external order. Execute one act of physical discipline. Make the bed, prep your workspace, or clear the clutter of yesterday. This 10-minute block is your non-negotiable territory. It is the hill you are willing to die on. If you lose these 10 minutes, you have lost the day. But if you win them, you have built a foundation of anti-fragility that the world cannot easily break. Tonight, before you sleep, you must set the trap. Lay out your clothes, move your phone to another room, and decide, right now, that tomorrow morning is not a negotiation. It is an execution. You aren't waking up to try. You are waking up to be a human being in the Aurelian sense. The final piece of the action plan is the shield of indifference. As you step out of these 10 minutes and into the world, you will be met with resistance. People will be rude, technology will fail, and your plans will be challenged. This is where the 1% are separated from the rest. The average person uses their morning energy to fight the world. The Stoic uses their morning energy to endure the world with a smile. Your 10-minute ritual has given you a buffer of peace. Do not give it away for free. If a coworker is surly, remember Marcus's morning premeditation, I expected this. If you hit traffic, use that time to return to your directed thought. Your morning routine isn't a bubble to hide in, it's a suit of armor to fight in. The goal is to reach the end of the day with your ruling faculty still intact. Success is not a bank account or a title. Success is the ability to look in the mirror at night and know that you did not surrender your peace to a world you cannot control. You are the emperor of your internal empire. Act like it. The first 10 minutes were the coronation. The rest of the day is your reign. As we close this navigation, understand that the thinking pillow is your pre-battle counsel. We provide the strategy, but you must provide the courage. The first 10 minutos of tomorrow morning are already approaching. In those seconds, you will be faced with a choice, the warmth of the lower self or the cold clarity of the higher self. One path leads back to the fog, to the anxiety, and to the half-life of the reactor. The other leads to the marrow, to the power, and to the sovereignty of the 1%. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Tomorrow morning, don't argue with your alarm. Don't argue with your comfort. Don't argue with your past failures. Just rise. The world is waiting for someone who has mastered themselves. Let that person be you. Don't forget to subscribe to the Thinking Pillow for your weekly dose of strategic wisdom. Leave a comment below with the one voluntary hardship you will commit to tomorrow morning. Make the pledge, seal the intent. We'll see you in the next silence.